And welcome to another Thursday afternoon lunchbox in Fitchburg at the K Zone at 105.3 FM and AM 1280. Opening day today for the Red Sox. Great time this morning at breakfast. We were talking about reminiscing more about the opening day games that we have gone to between Kevin from Heaven, you with your $200 bleacher seats.
Oh,
You haven't gotten over that.
No, that was a rough one.
That
I
was-
mean, when you've gone to the Sox as a kid and paid 75 cents or a buck to sit in the bleachers, and then this guy drops a ticket on me and says it's 200.
And he's a
like,
friend of yours.
Yeah. Well, that's back in the day when they were hot, and
$200
yeah,
on?
it's ridiculous. Well,
Yeah.
that's just it was just over the top. No, but anyway, breakfast. Wow, what a crew.
How about Danny McAuliffe?
Dynamite Danny McAuliffe. Is that
Dynamite-
his nickname?
Dynamite.
Yeah.
We're going to
Diesel.
go with Dynamite Danny?
Well,
Yeah.
because I stole Diesel.
Yep.
Right, so Dynamite Danny
Dynamite
McAuliffe popped in,
Walked in with
made
his
our
red-
morning.
It looked like he was walking into the
Oh,
bullpen.
now how
A
about
big Red Sox jacket?
he had the Red Sox gear on, Kevin from Heaven had the Red Sox gear, and I know you felt like, oh, I missed the boat. I should have had my gear on
I
today.
should and when I put this shirt on, I figured, oh, the Red Sox, and I have a nice Boston
Oh,
couple
great
Red
stuff,
Sox
yeah.
shirts, and
And Sean Moneyman Case came in. We had a tremendous crew. Diesel,
was in
Dan
a-
Bolak, what a
yeah,
crew we
what a
had.
crew.
But the conversation, Mark, shifted to just baseball memories as a kid, baseball locally in Fitchburg or in
You
Clinton.
talking about your free ice creams?
Yeah. I mean,
Kevin from Heaven
I think
biking
that's,
over to Blake's.
Yeah, Blake's
come
to get his
on.
free ice cream
It
after a
doesn't-
Little League game.
It doesn't get any better than.
I-
oh yeah, it does. Here's Howie.
Here's Howie.
I
We
didn't-
thought today couldn't get any better.
Any better?
Wow.
Look at him.
The day's
Yep.
perfect. The day's a 10 now.
No, 8.
But hey, Mark is with us. Mark missed out last week.
week.
He's feeling better today from Clinton with
Yeah.
Cable Community TV. So we're back on with our videos.
Hey, we're back up at
Like
100%.
the show on YouTube. The show is on YouTube
Yep.
under Clinton, Mass. Like the show and hit the subscribe button. If he doesn't hit 230 subscriptions by tomorrow at noon, we may not see Mark.
Hey, make
He's under
sure
the
you
gun from
tell
Eddie
them
Duval.
When they subscribe, it doesn't cost anything.
Right.
That's the
That's
key.
why I subscribed.
Of course it is. Twice.
I'm using 4 or 5 different names.
My boy Decker subscribed. I know that. My man Deckman.
Finally got his free T-shirt.
Van S didn't subscribe.
No, he's too busy with 100 kids running track.
109.
Yeah, which good for him.
100 now. But
Hey,
anyway,
I saw a bunch of ADs at the conference last night. I happened to swing in and see some people, so it was kind of nice. I did see Smitty down there representing Clinton.
I didn't feel like going this year.
No, I know. But
First time.
we'll get you back next year.
First time long. Oh, God, it's got to be 15 years since I didn't make the trek.
Right,
Of course, we could have
right.
golfed. The weather yesterday.
It was somewhat golfable. I think some guys probably golfed
Yeah.
yesterday. I wasn't there for long, but just made
No,
an
I
appearance.
wasn't up to it going down this year. Though Eric did call. It would have been fun once you get there.
Right,
Of course, it's
right.
always fun. Tony Peranto, Jeff Rudzinski, and all the guys. Tanya,
Hey.
it's a fun time. But
Before our first caller, why don't you start with that story from 1975?
oh,
Because I think it's fascinating. Go ahead.
hopefully Annie doesn't call in right away.
That's okay.
1975. Me and my buddy Danny Despotopoulos decide we're going to go to opening day at Fenway. We get in. It was Yellow Dart. We drive down, probably Route 2.
Yellow Dodge Dart.
Yeah.
Push buttons on the.
We get down there. We get our 75-cent ticket or 50-cent ticket. We're like this. We're shoulder to shoulder. Something ecstatic happened to Danny that we can't talk about in the line. We're walking through. So we get in, and you pay another 75 cents. You can go over, you can walk around the ballpark back then, up top. But it was Hank Aaron's first game as the designated hitter with the Milwaukee Brewers. And it was Tony Canigliero's last attempt, his last comeback. So don't they do the introductions of all the players that afternoon. And when it comes time for the Brewers, Henry Aaron gets a rousing ovation. I mean, unbelievable ovation. So now they introduce the non-starters for the Red Sox and the bullpen guys, whatever. And then they announce the starting lineup for the Red Sox and, whoever, Yaz, Lynn, Rice, and all of a sudden the DH. They go in batting fifth, the designated hitter, number 25, Tony Canigliaro. That place, I've never heard it so loud. I was at the 7th game of the World Series when they got beat that year. I get in at the end. It was me, Pat Ween, Kevin McNamara, Robbie Regger. We went down on a whim. We get in the 9th inning. It was like 2 outs. We saw Yaz pop out. But the ovation that Canigliaro got that day was as loud a place as I've ever been in my life. And they didn't want to sit down. I mean, here was a guy who is still the youngest player to ever reach the 100 home run mark. He went from St. Mary's of Lynn to a year in the minors, less than a year in the minors, to the starting right fielder at 18 years old for the Red Sox. He's from Lynn. And
Tony C.
Yeah. And then the tragedy after that in the Sumner Tunnel. He had his heart attack. He had just gotten the job as the announcer, the color commentator for the Red Sox with Ned Martin. Mm-hmm. In the Sumner Tunnel, he was going back to California, and he had a heart attack. He was with his brother Billy. They couldn't get the ambulance into the tunnel. And that's when Bob Montgomery became the color man, is because Tony was hospitalized, never left the hospital after that.
How old of a guy was he at that point?
40s.
Yep.
Wow.
Just looked it up. 37. He was at the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What a like everyone's hero. High school. Everyone dreamt about it. You go from high school. He played a year in the minors. Bang, right fielder for Red Sox. First time up at Fenway. Hits it into the
You
net.
had a shot. If your sophomore season wasn't curtailed, you had a shot to go straight to the majors.
Yeah, straight.
But you thought you were a little too good for the Clinton Gales that year. That's another story. But a great story.
Yeah.
A great story, I think.
I thought
We'll
I
save
was
that
better
for another
than I
time.
was,
No,
and I
we'll save it for another
Yeah.
time, but it's a great story. And I
Yeah.
think you have some good ones, there's no question.
Yeah, but that great opening day. I'll tell you, it was warmer than this. But then I went to another opening day with Pat Ween. We went down and they're playing the Royals. It was a day like this. Mark Gubazar for the Royals pitch, and he never would wear under. He wore short sleeve. And I'm telling you, we were freezing. I couldn't imagine what it was like with him pitching in weather. It was similar to this, sunny but just freezing cold.
You're rolling the dice. Some years they sort of play a week or so on their way back from Florida.
They'll go to Baltimore,
Right.
Atlanta.
Right. Hey, now Henry Aaron, he was with the Brewers. That's prior to them going to Atlanta? No, you're saying with the
So he went from the Braves.
Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
To the Brewers. He went
the
back to Milwaukee.
He went back to Milwaukee.
Oh, because he was with the
He
Milwaukee
started with the
Braves with
Milwaukee
Eddie Matthews.
Yeah.
They went to Atlanta,
Lawrence
and then he went
Vaughn.
back. So was that the last year of his career?
I
Last year or
think he
two?
might have-
Yep.
Diesel, go ahead.
Yep,
Diesel's
75
got
and
it.
76 with the Brewers.
Yeah.
That was his last year.
Yep,
2 years.
76. Yep,
How many
that
home
was-
runs in 75 did he hit?
I'll get you that in a moment.
I remember where I was when he broke the home run record, when
I
he hit a
remember-
715. Where were you?
Tom House caught it. I was in Billy Goslin's cellar. I can't tell you.
22 home runs with the Brewers,
Imagine
12
that.
in 75 and 10 in 76.
12 and 10, he finished up. Okay.
Yeah.
I was in Slattery's when he hit his 715th home run. I remember it
I
vividly.
bet you better have been with my boy Kevin from heaven.
Well, who knows? But I recall that up on the TV.
Yeah.
Hit it, and I remember the kid.
Remember with Goose.
There was a kid who ran out onto the field when he
Yes.
rounded third base.
Tom House caught that. And who'd he hit it off? Al Downing, the Dodger.
You know your stuff. I'm not going to pretend to even, compete with you when it comes to baseball.
I think that's pretty funny about Hank Aaron. His what was his single season mark? The most home runs he hit in a single season.
50 something.
Nope, never broke 50.
40.
Wow.
44, 45.
So here's the interesting thing: it's 47, which he did in his age 37 season in 1971. He led the He led the league 3 times, the National League 3 times in home runs, but it wasn't in 1971. Did it in 57, 63, and 66. All 3 years he did it. He had 44, and then he did it one other time in 67 when he only hit 39. But 60 was it 67? That was the year of the pitcher. Or was that 68?
The year of the what?
The year of the pitcher.
Wasn't 67.
No,
Not when Yaz had the Triple Crown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yaz hit 44 that year.
Yeah.
Wow.
What year was it where Bob Gibson had the 112 ERA?
Oh.
And then they lowered the mound because it's like, okay, it's
was
way.
that 68?
Maybe, I think that was 68.
Yeah, Bob Gibson. He was a great college basketball
Kev.
player, too, at Creighton. Absolutely great player.
Yeah, call that number I sent you.
But no, opening day is always a great day
Yeah,
when you're
okay.
a kid. You'd come home from school, you'd run in the house, it'd be the 5th or 6th inning. Afternoon baseball, there's something
Yeah.
to afternoon baseball.
Yeah.
World Series games in the
Yeah.
afternoon used to be the
They would put
best.
them on in school. They'd bring a TV in and put
Oh.
it on in school at like 2 o'clock. Or
Yeah, the
1:30.
nuns used to put it on at St. John's School when we went to. It was great. You go home, get off the bus.
We could talk about it for an hour easily.
Oh, you
about
could.
baseball, reminiscing.
Oh,
I
man.
think Kevin's calling in now.
Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Hey, this is Tony. We've met down the Cape at the conference before. I didn't make it this year, but Bobby said he was going to look you up and have you back on, and it's great that you're able to take the time to call in for a few minutes. Hey, we noticed, too, with the information you've given Bobby, there's been a lot of Central Mass interest this year as far as locations go.
Yeah, it's funny. After COVID hit, some of our long-term venues that we have used in the past, we're not allowing out. There's a lot of college venues weren't allowing non-students on campus, and so we started to look for some other locations, and we've really moved quite a bit of stuff out to the central area. The main focus over the last couple of years has been using Game On Pittsburgh. For now, I think we're going to have 8 sports this year, but we also have ice hockey out in Marlboro.
Yeah.
We have our trap shooting event out in Lunenburg. We use Devon's for softball, so we're quite a presence out that way.
Yeah, I see that. Willard Field for softball. You got the North Leominster Rod and Gun Club for the trap and
skeet shooting. How many kids get involved in that, Kev?
I tell you, last year we had almost 80 participants.
Are you kidding? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Quite an event. I had the opportunity to be able to go out and see that event live last year, and that's a very impressive facility. And
Yeah, it is.
the youth of the youth involved in that is extensive.
Wow.
It's interesting. This is the 41st year of Bay State Games, and over our time we've probably had about 3 dozen or more athletes who have participated at the games at one point in their career and gone on to the Olympics. And the sport that we have had more Olympic athletes in that have played in the Bay State Games has been competitive shooting.
Wow.
We've probably had 7 or 8 athletes from Massachusetts that shot in Bay State Games events that have competed at the Olympic level.
Well,
and
hunting.
it's one of those things that doesn't get a lot of publicity, but
Wow.
Yeah.
there's a lot of really strong shooters out that way.
Well, hunting is such a big sport up here, and when I catch the international, they had a skeet
You
shooting
don't
range.
know a thing about hunting.
No, I don't
What are you
hunt.
talking
I
about?
don't hunt. I'm
Hunting.
the first. Kevin,
Kev,
listen,
I mean, this is
I only do that because hunting's big up here, okay?
how
But
is it big up here?
deer, okay, right?
Oh,
Look,
he's off the rails, Kev. I'm sorry.
But-
This is totally going off the rails from Bay
Kevin.
State Games to hunting is big
Hey,
up
I'll
here.
let my buddy Mickey Laterio
my-
call in, all right? He's a hunter.
You're grasping at straws now,
No,
Hawk.
but skeet shooting, first time ever did I know what skeet shooting was the International Golf Club in Bolton had a skeet shooting range for members. And they had those discs.
Okay,
Yep.
Yep.
okay.
There. That's
So-
what I was
so-
leading to.
So you bailed out on that one. Nice job. But so, Kev, these kids who participate, what are they? Are they members of like rod and gun clubs, and that's where they do their skeet shooting?
There's an extensive list of shooting clubs across the state, and again, for some of our Bay State Games sports, the team sports that we have, so baseball, basketball, soccer, those are exclusively for athletes from Massachusetts. But for a lot of our individual sports, like the shooting sports, and when we have ski trap shooting, we have rifle shooting, pistol shooting, we literally have, if you look on our website, we have about 7 or 8 different competitive shooting events. But a lot of our individual sports, like shooting and wrestling and swimming and track and field and fencing, they're open actually to surrounding New England states as well, because we are out of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. Massachusetts is the only state that has a state games. So athletes from those neighboring states can also participate in our events. Our team sports we have exclusively for Massachusetts because we divide into regional teams.
Right.
That I know Bob is familiar with, that you
Right.
represent other areas of the state. But
Tony is too. Coastal basketball.
Oh yeah,
Tony's familiar.
my daughter Regan played for Coastal.
Yep. And,
If she had a good coach, Kevin, it would still be playing now. But
probably.
Yeah, she gave up the game
It would've
after
been-
that summer.
oh,
I was waiting for that shoe to drop. I knew that one.
I almost gave up the game after that summer.
But no, and that's it's funny because with a lot of the individual sports, Bob and I were talking about this yesterday at the conference, where if you look at the historical perspective of Bay State Games, when the organization was first started, it was started really with team sports. And 40 years ago, Bay State Games was fortunate to kind of be one of the major events for team sports and showcases in the state.
Yeah.
And now you look over the last 20 to 25 years or 30 years where, the growth of AAU for basketball, the growth of Hockey Nights Boston for ice hockey, the growth of all these lacrosse showcases up and down the Atlantic Seaboard all the way to Baltimore. The landscape has changed. And even today in a sport like swimming, on the weekend of our swimming competition this year, there are 5 other swimmers. And yet we can't do it another weekend because on that weekend there's 7 other swimmers. So it's like the landscape is so saturated. We're just fortunate to really be able to still maintain a following. And what we're finding is the biggest growth that we have at Bay State Games right now is the non-traditional sports, the pickleballs, the rugby, those badminton. I mean, we had 275 badminton athletes last year in our competition. It was a 3-day event on 8 courts that started at 8 in the morning and ended at 10 o'clock at night.
Wow,
that's great.
And
though.
so, there's a lot of interest in these non-traditional sports, and that's really been the biggest growth point for Bay State Games.
right. Hey, Kev, for our listeners, while we have you on the air, what's the website where they can go to get information or to possibly sign up?
Sure. All the information is at baystategames.org. All one word, all small letters.
Yep.
Baystategames.org.
Okay.
And from there, if they click on Summer Games, they'll get the full list of sports. Registration is actually open for all of our sports now. We've opened up March 1st. We actually have about 400 or 500 people already registered for the various events. We just finished our final winter sport event this past weekend. Last weekend we had curling. We were actually in Hopedale, had 16 teams in that tournament. We also, this past January, were able to go back to the Berkshires for the first time since the onset of COVID in 2020 with our figure skating competition in the Berkshires. And then we'll now be planning and putting everything together for our summer events that will kick off in the very early part of June.
Wow, you guys are busy.
Yeah, so we'll between June 1st and July 30th, we'll have consecutive weekends of events right through that whole period in about 28 different sports.
Wow.
Now, because of Legion and Babe Ruth and other things, now baseball and softball, are they limited to weekends too because of that, or?
We actually limit those 2 sports are limited to weekdays. And the reason that we do that is, for softball, the issue is that you have all these college showcases and ASA tournaments on the weekends. So we actually have our tournament during the week. Baseball has changed. It's always been a weekday tournament, but because of the continued growth of AAU baseball, same thing. If we were to have the conflicts that we would be dealing with if we were on a weekend would be far more significant than they are now when we're on during the week. And so and for the scouts and everything, it's easier for them to get there on the week during the week as well. So it depends. I mean, baseball and softball are weekday events. Events like soccer and field hockey might include a Friday, but they're primarily weekend events. It changes from sport to sport.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, looking at the brochure that Bobby had brought back up, I mean, there's no limit on if somebody wants to do even like pickleball at the Millworks and or anything. I mean, there's something for everybody to participate in. Go ahead.
Is that pickleball, Kevin? Is that singles and doubles?
It's actually doubles. Funny story on that. When we first met, it's doubles only.
Doubles only. Okay.
And yet we have almost over 300 players.
It's big.
So that's all high school kids.
No, that's very few high school kids are in that event.
So
that's primarily adults.
That's
so
open.
That's one thing that's changed a lot for Bay State Games as well. Is that when we first started, it was primarily the high school athletes.
Okay.
But right now, when you look at our breadth of events, we have athletes that are as young as 5 and as old as 80. It just depends on the sport. I mean, we have in some sports like swimming and track and field, we have specific masters divisions, and in certain sports like figure skating or baton twirling, we have athletes as young as 5.
Wow.
Pretty interesting stuff. I mean,
yeah, it really is. What you guys encompass is fascinating. It really is.
It's funny. We were talking about. I've been talking. I'm still down here at the Cape at the Athletic Directors Convention, and we were talking with a number of ads, and we have a real small staff at Bay State Games. I mean, we have myself and 2 other people that put the whole program together. I mean, really, for us, it's what we're able to do is because of all the support that we get from the volunteer coaches and people like Bob who donate their time and the officials and all of that. But we were just talking about. We're all dealing with the same issues now in terms of, insurance and concussions and participation issues. And it's, you really, it comes to light when it comes to this conference that Bay State Games is almost like a small athletic department.
Yeah.
Oh, more than small.
And the issues that you're dealing with are really the same. There's a lot of common ground that we get and opportunities. I look at the guide of the sessions that they have at this conference for high school athletic directors, and many of those issues that are being discussed are things that impact us as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
No question. You know what we'll do is this show also goes on a YouTube channel, so we'll make sure, Mark, we can put the BayStateGames.org up on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, because the show is streamed in like Clinton and Bolton and so forth. So.
That'd be great.
See what we can do.
And I had mentioned to Bob. I mean, as we get further into it, and we have athletes who have now been selected, I mean, happy to have them come on and talk to you guys. And even if if you guys wanted to come out to Pittsburgh for Game On and do a broadcast as part of all that event.
Yeah, it's something we could certainly look into. Absolutely, because I mean, Kevin, I believe this is the 3rd year in a row that we've had you on. Around this time of the year, Bobby and
usually
I would meet you down the Cape, and it might be a week or 2 later. Sure. But it's always good to keep everybody up here informed, especially now where you're using like Devon's and Lunenburg and Game On and
Leominster Rod and Gun Club.
Leominster Rod and Gun Club, the Millworks, and I saw something in Westboro, and I can't remember.
Very convenient for people here
to
in the
listen.
North
There are a
County.
lot of listeners up here.
Badminton in Westboro at the Boston Badminton Club. And, and the thing too is that we are the Bay State Games. I mean, we pride ourselves on the fact that we have representation from 300 Massachusetts cities and towns, and so to be in the central part of the state, it's not just a question of logistics. I mean, face it, that Game On facility is one of the most premier facilities in the state, and the amenities that they have there. I mean, 7 turf fields, 14 indoor courts. You've got a restaurant. You've got snack bars. You've got arcade. I mean, it's just there's tons of parking.
Yeah.
It's a great facility, and we want to provide our athletes with a top quality experience, and using places like that, using places like the New England Sports Center in Marlborough and other places like that. I mean, it's all part of what we strive to give the athletes a great experience.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, thanks for all the information and the yearly call that you just made. And we'll be sure to post it. We have put a poster up here in the studio. Mark will get it on the Clinton cable TV on YouTube, and Bobby and I, from now until the games begin,
We'll mention it. Yeah.
We'll mention it. Remind kids to. 'Cause we have a lot of high school ads and high school kids who do listen to the show, who we do have on as guests. We'll keep mentioning it week by week by week, and I mean, it doesn't seem like you're hurting for participants and athletes, but it's just nice to keep the Bay State game name rolling, especially when you're going to be up here more and more and more. It seems like in the future.
And no, I'll be. I mean, we are always. It always pains us when we talk to many people every year who said, "I've never heard of your organization."
Yeah,
so
right.
I would never say that. Excuse me. You're satisfied with your participation levels. I think that we're always looking to spread the word out because, face it, for some of our sports, you can only play for 2 or 3 years. Every 2 or 3 years, you're recruiting a whole different
Group of
pool
kids.
of athletes.
Yeah.
That effort never ends.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you,
Well,
Kevin.
thank you
It's
so
a
much.
great overview of the
Yeah.
Bay State games. Love to hear from you every year, and it was good to see you last night at the conference.
Yeah. When are you leaving the conference?
It ends in an hour, and then heading back to Boston for another meeting.
Okay.
All right. Hey,
Have
thank
a
you
s-
so much.
Yeah, have a safe
Thank
trip,
you.
Kev. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we'll be back. Welcome back to another
Segment.
segment, but that music, Diesel.
What's
Oh.
wrong with that? People like that.
You don't like Werewolves of London?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, not today.
Oh.
Oh, well, what day will you like it?
I don't
mean,
know.
Can we give you a calendar and you
I
can
don't know.
circle a
But your,
date?
your Motown was starting to become a hit.
Well, Diesel
problem
said,
is-
2 weeks in a row.
Well, the problem is I only have 2 songs in here from them. So
That's show
We get
prep.
no
That's
country,
show prep.
2
It's like-
Motown songs,
keep-
probably 42 Springsteen songs between
Show
you and
prep.
the Cardinal.
How about some Dr. Dre?
Yeah, we'll put Dr. Dre on when this show's over, 101. Hey, Kevin Cummings, good info.
Yeah.
Always a good interview down the Cape. You got to meet him. That was good
Yeah.
stuff.
He had some
But, you
gear.
know-
He had some gear for you too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a backpack.
Nice. But
Opening day.
I'm amazed to talk to him every year because of the profound, the what the Bay State games really encompasses. It's pretty sharp, pretty good.
You know, I'll tell you, it's one of those things. And while he was we were talking to him, it came to me that I would not have appreciated the Bay State games until Regan played, and drove to the Cape for practice a couple times with you, drove home, great night bonding with her, whatever. But then going to the Reggie Lewis and going to these places and playing and seeing what happens and seeing the athletes coming out, grandparents, parents, it was pretty cool. And that was just basketball.
Yeah.
And to see the number of volunteers.
Yeah, the
there.
officials all volunteer. All the
Officials,
officials,
umpires.
referees
Yeah.
volunteer. Matter of fact, I told him with the soccer being at Game On, he does have an assigner, but I told him I would be happy to let his assigner know that there's plenty of officials up here that would probably help out.
It's a great thing, you know, and that was just one summer with Regan that we did it, and now I know what it curtails. I would never have known. I've heard of the Bay State games. I had kids at Clinton played,
Sure.
Basketball and baseball in the Bay State games, but you know,
it's an opportunity. It's
baseball,
an opportunity.
you go and there's 2 teams. Basketball, you go to Reggie Lewis, there was 18 teams. You know, you got to see the scope of it, how many kids do get involved, and how much fun they do have.
It's a
But
good
anyways, getting back to opening day, it's always a huge day when the Red Sox are in any city. You know, whether you're in San Diego, Toronto. I was going to say Montreal, but we're at.
Well, Montreal. I mean,
Oh, I saw a great clip
I've-
yesterday. Gary Carter's last.
I went to a game in Montreal.
Did you really?
I saw Pedro pitch up there.
Wow.
Small stadium, Montreal Expos. Oh, you would know the name. I can't think of it now. It only held about 35,000.
Olympia.
No.
Jari Park?
Jerry, is that the? Jarry Park?
It
Yeah,
was
it was
spelled Jari. I don't know if it was pronounced Jerry.
Jarry Park. That was pre the Olympic Stadium
Yeah.
setup.
It's a tennis court now.
Yep.
Yeah, just
No, maybe it wasn't
Good
Pedro
stuff.
because that was.
Yeah, Pedro was no.
No, it wasn't Pedro. It was
Yeah.
another great pitcher in
Oh.
the '70s. It was.
they had some great.
Diesel will find out.
I'll see what
Bill
I can find.
Lee. Bill Lee.
No, it wasn't Bill Lee.
After the Sox went
I'll know
there.
the name when he comes up with it. The pitcher for the Expos in the '70s.
All right.
Well, he'll look at that.
Yeah,
But
he'll-
it's a big day everywhere with all the pomp and circumstance, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of the. Of course, I'll go home. You'll watch it today, and then you'll watch the highlights for what we miss here today. But I still say because the Red Sox don't announce who is going to come out and sort of ceremony at first pitch.
Yeah. What's your
When
call?
Bill Buckner walked out that year was absolutely phenomenal, and the cheers that he got, and we all know about the ball
Sure.
into his legs in '86, and unfortunately, people don't remember there was a wild pitch or a pass ball prior to that. That should have never happened. That should have never happened.
Mhm.
Everybody forgets what led up to
Right.
it. But yeah,
Right.
it did happen,
Right.
But when he walked out of the Green Monster and that place went crazy, I remember the interview with him afterwards. He said it was almost like a relief. And it was also like
It was
closure.
cathartic.
That
yeah.
it was forgotten to the real avid baseball player. The buffoon,
the casual.
yeah, is still going to say, well, have their comments and things like that. But to the real baseball fan, he said it made him and his family feel really, really good about what happened that night and how he had to live after that. His kid played Little League up in Utah. He moved. He moved way out into out in the Midwest, and thought he could just go and just be a normal guy. And some guy one night heckled him. Imagine that.
Yeah, terrible.
20
We talk
years,
about
25
that fan
years later.
behavior all the time.
Yeah,
Terrible.
gave him sort of a hard time in a Little League game, his kid's game.
I mean, come on.
Come on, grow up. Grow up. It happens. Somebody, whatever. Did you find it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find really a star pitcher who pitched for the Expos during the Jerry Park era. The best pitchers I could find were Carl Morden, Bill Stoneman, and Steve Rogers.
No, it
Steve
doesn't ring a
Rogers
bell.
won a Cy Young.
Maybe it's in my mind.
He was
Maybe-
I think he was an Oriole too, Steve Rogers. I don't know.
May have been a different Steve Rogers. This one played his entire career with the Expos.
Oh.
Did lead the majors in ERA in 1982. Was
Okay.
an All-Star 5 times.
Who were their best hitters? That maybe.
Andre Dawson.
Dawson was there.
Tony, you know your stuff.
Yeah.
You are a baseball guy.
You got Gary Carter
Mister,
was there.
I thought Greg
Yeah,
Pacuzzi
I'm
was
there.
Mr. Baseball.
Oh,
you
don't
may
tell
have you
Pacucci.
may have to become Mr. Baseball.
No. Pacucci is the man.
He's 1 and you're 1A.
no,
I'm going to give you 1A.
I'm 2, 3, 4.
Well, who's ahead of you? Who could be ahead of you?
Decker.
No.
Oh,
No. Seriously?
Decker knows his stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If he'd ever show up for breakfast, Danny McAuliffe knows
yeah.
his stuff.
Yeah.
Now, baseball's a great.
Kevin from Heaven's not
Kevin
too
Farrell.
bad.
We talked
He's not
about.
too bad.
Hey, we talked today about Gaylord Perry, right? And somehow the name came up, and I said I read an article.
Oh, that's
one time-
another good one.
great story. So when Gaylord Perry, he was the knuckleball pitcher. His brother was Jim Perry, who pitched with the Minnesota Twins. So Gaylord Perry was not a good how do you say a major league pitcher is not a good hitter, but he wasn't a good hitter, and he used to swing for the fences. And Alvin Dark, his manager, said to him, stop swinging for the fences. He goes, they'll put a man on the moon before you hit a home run in the major leagues. Well, on July 20th, was it the 20th when we landed a guy on the moon?
I don't know.
Or 11th, July that year.
I don't know if that ever really actually happened, but go ahead.
Oh, be quiet. We landed, Diesel, you looked it up. We landed on the moon. And right after
Wow. That's what
we
we're
landed
told.
on the
That's
moon,
what we're told. Go ahead.
Gaylord Perry hit a home run. And we looked it up at breakfast today. I was telling Kevin from Evan, just to show him that it was a true story. I had read that. So July 20th it was. When
Diesel will look up that date too.
of course
Yep.
he will. If he finds a picture that you keep asking him for the Expos.
Well, it might have been a hitter now.
But Mark, that's a true story.
Yep, July 20th, 1969
Wow.
was when
Okay.
Gaylord,
Wow,
that was when
Hawk.
Gaylord Perry hit his home run.
That's what I just.
So that's the day
And-
we supposedly landed somebody on the
don't
moon.
you suppose nothing?
No, there's a lot of
Yeah, there's a
stuff
lot of
out
you
there.
out there. There's a lot of buffoons like you. Okay.
Hey, wait a minute.
Oh, no,
don't
wait a
use
minute, nothing.
don't use the clown emoji with me.
That's Italian, okay? Buffono. But that's a great there's so many great baseball stories. You know, you just.
How about the first day? Here's a good one for our listeners. How about the first day you got your Little League uniform? Tell us
Me?
that story. Yeah,
I was
seriously,
in
I
the
loved
fourth
it.
grade,
Yep.
and I made the Little League Dodgers. Me
Little
and my
Tony,
friend Billy
little
Gosler,
Tony and Clinton. Yep.
and Lois Mahefka and Joanne drive us home. They were the coach's daughters, and we get off at the top of the hill at Lorraine Ave and Lancaster Road. And Billy and I are in the fourth grade, and we run down the hill, and he goes up to Otis Street. I go in my house, Lorraine Ave. I put it on, and Billy drove his bike down.
Oh no, wait. That's the house that I've been at, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And we drove around in those wool uniforms. I didn't. It could have been 100 degrees. I don't
Right.
know. We drove around. My mother was screaming at me, "Tony, you're gonna get it dirty." All day we rode around our bikes around the neighborhood like we just made the Red Sox. All
Yep,
day we drove
yep,
around. Then we would
yep.
play catch, and
Yep.
it was just a great first uniform that I ever had was a Little League Dodgers. Joe
Yep.
Mahefka, one of the best coaches and people I've ever had in my life. Little League guy. It was just great. You know, you remember that stuff because
Yeah.
it was so good.
Yeah.
And it meant so much. Johnny McNally was telling me yesterday, the Board of Health guy who was down the tavern, we had an inspection. Johnny McNally has been in the Clinton Little League for over 30 years.
As
After his kid,
Yep. He stayed with it.
Chris left, he stayed with it. When Brett and Owen played in the Clinton Little League, there were like 9 and 8 teams. There was a lot of kids to play. Johnny McNally was telling me yesterday they're struggling to get 4.
Really. Baseball is such a great game.
It is a great game.
All right, so I looked it all
Oh,
up.
about
So,
time.
all right, so the let's see, July 20th, 1969 at 2017 Universal Coordinated Time was when they first walked on the moon, and on that same day, on July 20th, is when the Dodgers and Giants played, in which Gaylord Perry homered.
Wow.
That was a
Off a
1
clock.
o'clock start, and that would have been West Coast time. That would have been, I think, 7 hours behind. So that would have been probably pretty close to, was it 7 hours from 13? So about that game would have started at, I guess, 100 hours Universal Coordinated Time. So they were pretty close. Those two events happened pretty close apart.
Hey, maybe Neil Armstrong's foot hit the moon and Gaylord Perry's ball hit into the bleachers.
unbelievable.
Maybe. And he hit it off Claudio Steen, by the way. Great
Wow.
pitcher for the Dodgers,
Wow.
lefty.
If that was in the bottom of the third, it would have been pretty close. I think Neil Armstrong's foot would have touched first, but
Oh, yeah.
that had to be no more than an hour between those events.
That's a great, though. I mean, just to have it happen.
You know, I
And
think,
here we are, how many years later talking about it? 50,
but I think
45
it's
years.
it's a great story. But I think
Baseball has that, though.
baseball, today,
Kids-
unfortunately,
Got a bad rap.
you need patience. You need a little bit of patience to play baseball. But the games within a game are fascinating, and you need to just kind of explain to kids, hey, it doesn't have to be fast, go all the time. I mean, baseball, I think that clock that's going to shorten the games and so forth is going to help people stay.
Well-
I know lacrosse is a big competitor now in the
Yeah, it
spring
is.
with
Yeah.
baseball, but there's
But
nothing like baseball.
If you go to a Woo Sox game and they start at 6:10, you can 6:10 the first pitch. They have 3 minutes in between innings. You'll be home in Lancaster watching 9 innings by 9:30. There's no fooling around, none. No fooling around. There's a pitch count. There's an in between innings count. It's just great. They just keep the game moving and moving and moving. And now the major leagues are going to try it.
Diesel?
I do have
Diesel's
a correction
again
to make.
now.
So,
Oh boy.
yep. So the period, that moment, that time frame I gave was actually when the lunar lander landed on the moon. Neil Armstrong didn't step on the moon until like 6 hours later.
So we hit it before.
So, well, we put something on the moon.
So
and
we
the-
landed on
Well,
the
we
moon.
landed
time.
on the moon
The
first.
capsule was on the moon, okay? And Gaylord
Right,
Perry hit his
right.
home.
Gaylord Perry
Right.
homered before Neil Armstrong walked.
Okay, but
What?
they were on the moon.
Yeah, it was within 24 hours of
I
each
mean,
other.
they
We could
just
say that
didn't-
with absolute
They
certainty.
just didn't land, shut it off, fasten your seatbelts and walk out. I mean,
Right,
they were
right,
on there for a
right.
while.
Yeah,
Right.
because they landed at 2017, and it wasn't until 6 hours later that Armstrong stepped on it.
There it is right
So
there.
there it is.
How
So
about
it's a
that?
true story. Alvin
It
Dark.
is a true story.
But you know, baseball, opening day baseball, is unique in terms of all the other sports. It has a different flavor, a different feel, a different meaning over, the 150 years, maybe 160, 70 years now that the game's been played. The NFL, NBA,
No,
and hockey
But you know,
doesn't
there's-
have the same
there's no-
panache
there's-
as an opening day baseball.
because there's the big trades in the offseason. Now you have the free agent signings. I mean, Colin, we've talked about the portal. Connie sent something today about
Yeah.
but
But
gets
baseball
good.
is
Baseball,
unique.
Guys announced it to last
The
year,
thing-
like when Yaz did. Yaz, I was at Yaz's last game on October 2nd.
You saw the last did he play that day?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's the day he went and did a jog around
Yeah.
Fenway.
I-
Gary
I
Knowlton
was
was
with
at
Mike.
that game too.
Mike and Stevie Ernst.
Gary
we were
was a
there.
big Yaz fan.
Tommy Vett. We had a ball. Richie McNally, God rest his soul. Danny Decker. The Deck man was with us in Riger. Decker ended up getting thrown in the clink, I think, or Riger
What?
did. But
No,
anyways,
wait a minute.
No. Let me finish the story. So Yaz. So who replaced Yaz? When they took him out in the set, he ran out to left field. He played left field that day. He ran out. He
Right.
played catch, and all of a sudden, Chico Walker came out of the
Why
dugout.
didn't you let me answer that?
'Cause
I
you
knew
don't
it.
know
I knew it was
Chico
Chico
Walker.
Walker. Of course I did.
You don't know Chico Walker from Jimmy Walker, okay? He came out, and that's when Yaz gave his cap to that little kid and did his thing. It was tremendous.
What year was that?
81.
He really?
We're going to go to a quick
What was he?
break.
20 years or so in the majors? Maybe more.
23 years.
Well, we'll have that answer for you when we come back.
Yeah.
Yes.
To the end of the Thursday afternoon
Rock
lunchbox.
the Casbah.
Another one of you.
That
saw
was
it.
no.
No,
That was
no,
for
no.
Kevin from heaven
Diesel,
from
you-
Tingles
you and
on
I
the
are
Cape.
gonna- Diesel, when he leaves today, we're going to talk about music for next week. I got to be corrected. It was Yaz's career was 61 to 83. I was thinking 63 to 81, but I was at the last game in 83. It was a great time.
I'll tell you the last game I was at Havlicek's.
Oh,
I was at Havlicek's last game with JT. Ernie D. Gregorio was on the floor
Ernie
that
D.
too
from
at that
Providence.
time. Yeah,
man,
that's
he
why we're
was
rocking the PC
younger
hat.
Bob Cousy. Yeah, we see your PC.
Oh.
That's nice.
Man, you're giving me a hard time
I am
because
today.
you're on a roll with baseball. Baseball.
I know.
But we love it. We
We
love
do.
it. Hey, I'll throw out another quick story
Yeah.
that and Kevin and I were talking about it this morning, and actually you alluded to it too in Clinton. In Little League back in the day, the local Dairy Queen, and there were a few of them around. The winning team. If you were on the winning team, you could go to the Dairy Queen and get a free ice cream cone. Now today, that would never fly because
But
the
they
mommies and daddies of the players on the losing team would say that's not fair.
They just don't get sprinkles on their.
Oh,
cones,
yeah,
okay?
right. No,
the losers, the winners get sprinkles.
Oh, you
the
lost.
losers-
You get a hot fudge sundae.
Hey, Clinton still has the Dairy Queen, and it's been around since the 50s. That little building there, down by Mahefka's Field,
Yeah.
by Fuller Field. That place at night after a Little League or Last League game is like Spags. It is. The line is so long.
So Clinton's down to about 3 or 4
Possibly
teams.
3 or 4
Yeah.
teams. But then, I know in the past, Mark, and you can correct me because you cover the meetings, they've had Bolton, Berlin, Lancaster. They all have one team come in and
Join the league.
West
Sure,
Boylston,
sure.
and then
That
they have
makes
7.
sense.
That
makes a lot of sense.
That's what they've done. I do know that. But I'll tell you too. Like I was talking to Johnny McNally. Just you volunteers his time. I mean, you get guys like Gary Lamlimes down there, Matt Kobus is
God
down
bless
there.
those guys.
Just so many people that you talk about the Bay State games,
Yep.
and And
Let me ask you a question about just in reference to high school sports. I wonder if we're seeing a drop off in JV teams or freshman teams in high
softball,
school.
oh yeah.
Well, baseball. You think we're seeing a drop off?
I don't know because I'm on the softball
Right.
official board, but I do know there's quite a few JV high schools that don't have JV softball
Okay.
I know, like Fitchburg High School, they are co-oping with Sizer for baseball and softball.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that was something that was put in last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, size is right down the street. I
Yeah,
mean,
but still, it's like just to have that setup means that there's definitely a bit of a numbers crunch there.
yeah. Fitchburg, I do recall when they had varsity JV and freshman baseball.
Oh, I mean, they had Jason Toomley. Remember, he ended up going to UMass, quarterback
They
at
used to
Fitchburg
play at
High.
Crocker Field,
Yeah,
historic Crocker Field.
Oh man, I mean, they've had some great baseball. But of course, Lemercy, you can
Hey,
baseball.
What
was
about
incredible.
Diesel over the break, the local manager from Fitchburg?
Yeah, Pat Moran.
Mhm.
Yeah, he won a World Series in 1919. Of course, there were circumstances with that particular World
Yeah,
Series.
but that's a lot of
But-
that's bogus too.
Scandal.
But
Of course, it
I'm
is.
pretty sure he
bogus.
said that they would have won anyway, even with
Pete-
that. And
yeah,
they
Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame
So
too.
that's where Moran, we call it Moran, but Moran Field in West Fitchburg is named after him, right?
I would imagine so.
Okay.
Gotta be. How about Warren
There's
Steiner?
also Kevin from Heaven
Probably.
could corroborate this. There's also
He's napping now.
No, he was related to. I wish he would text me. He was related
He's
to a Hall of
napping.
Famer from Fitchburg. Seriously, Rabbit Moranville.
Oh yeah.
Rabbit Moranville. Maybe Kevin. Okay, Danny McAuliffe says, I was at the official Yaz Day, Saturday, October 1, 1983. He ran around Fenway both that day and Sunday.
That's right.
Now,
So-
Kevin from Heaven says everybody had a
Does Danny
Yaz.
McAuliffe work?
Everybody had a Yaz stance in the batter's box.
Yeah.
Did
tell
you
him
go to the Yaz stance?
No, no. I had a Tony Canigliaro stand.
Of course you did. Number
I
25.
did.
Did you
I
wear
could
number
st-
25?
Yeah. No,
Did you?
No, I didn't. I wore. Literally didn't have numbers that.
Oh, no,
high.
no, no. I meant high school
No,
or
I
whatever.
wore 4. I don't know why I wore 4.
Jackie, no, 4 would be Jackie
Joe
Jensen.
Cronin. Hey, Timmy Obie, and you know this answer. Timmy Obie said, "Who holds the record for assists at San Diego State?"
I know. Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
Basketball
there you go,
assists.
Obie.
Who said
he's-
that? Timmy O'Brien?
down in
Hey, you
Florida.
can't stump us,
Hey,
Timmy.
and Bob Gibson, a great pitcher for the Cardinals, played for Creighton. He was a Creighton
yeah.
basketball and baseball stud there.
Crane just made it to the Elite Eight this year.
Yeah, they did. That was a great run. Great run for them. Again, we can just talk about something else. Just them and Florida Atlantic, Miami,
FAU, yeah.
Fairleigh Dickinson. They just kept the excitement
What a
going.
crazy tournament
You
it
know,
was this year.
It's not
the
over.
girl-
It's
Girls-
like, yeah, it's just UConn's the only one that's been there
I know.
before.
The girls, Friday and Sunday, and now the guys, Saturday and Monday. You've got 4 excellent days of
How about
basketball
South
coming
Carolina?
up. 4 excellent days.
Yeah.
I want to see Iowa, South Carolina with Caitlin Clark for Iowa.
And the girl from
I mean,
Worcester
she's got
Academy,
game.
Elijah Boston,
Right, right.
from Worcester Academy. you
Yeah,
know?
no, it's pretty. There's some really good stuff coming up.
There
But
is.
you know, hope springs eternal today. Everybody's tied for
Hey.
first place.
I think.
Right?
I'll tell you.
What's your prediction on the Sox this
Today?
year? No, this year.
The Sox depends on how the veterans can take them, how healthy they can stay.
Don't hem and haw. Give us a prediction. Over 500 or under 500?
Around 500.
That's not
How's
it.
that?
Come on, Tony. That doesn't cut.
I
it.
don't bet. I don't
Over
gamble.
500.
Listen,
Over 81 wins
I
or
broke
under.
Sherman's heart when I told him the
Diesel,
Tigers
what
are
do
the
you
most
say?
underrated
I
team.
don't follow the Red Sox well enough to give you an
Of
education.
the
Mark, what do you
60s.
say?
Norm Cash hits 361, like 59.
I'm going to say they're
home
going to
runs back.
surprise people. I'll say over 81 wins for the Boston Red
How
Sox.
about we give him
this year.
83?
I'll go with Bobby Lavin out of Florida, over 81. We're going to be optimistic.
New music next week, Diesel. Please, please.
We'll
please.
talk about
Well,
it.
get in here early and figure
This
it
one's
out.
not
Get
changing,
it. We're
though.
here at 11:15. He goes home and takes a nap.
Hey, great show. Have a great opening day, everybody.
Hopefully, Kevin haven't set his alarms. It is 1 o'clock. See you next week.